So we have seen, essentially since Brexit, tons of industries up and down the UK being left in what we can only describe as an absolute limbo pose. No one knows exactly when things are going to get better. They're crying out for the government for some sort of aid and assistance, but the government has just turned around and just said, "Oh no, these aren't serious problems. These are just teething problems. Don't worry, they'll just smooth out." The problem is these aren't going to go away. The problem they're dealing with is paperwork, and this paperwork costs money and it costs time. To fill out these forms, I've got a friend he's in a manufacturing company. Again, before New Year, they didn't have to fill out any forms. Now, if they want to send something to Europe, there's the cost of the forms, and it takes them about 2 hours to fill out that paperwork. So that's time and money to that company to do that. So, this is where we're left at from all this. And one of the industries we haven't yet really heard from are the farmers. And we're not just talking, the arable farmers. We're talking sheep farmers, animal farmers, all the different types of farming we can think of, because it isn't yet their time to complain, because they're probably in a couple of months going to start planting. So we're probably going to hear about staffing issues, which is what we're going to talk about now. And then after, we've got harvesting. So they're going to talk about what we saw last year, unable to get staff to pick the produce from their fields, so some of it goes rotting. And then after that, we're going to hear of them about having their problems of them selling into Europe. So that's stuff we've got to look forward to from this year. So before we jump into today's article, please do remember to hit that like and share button. And of course, down below there is a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link. And as always, thank you very much to the people who do support me that way. So, on with this. So, this comes from the New European. So the title is, "The World's Largest Daffodil Farm is Forced to Let Flowers Rot in the Fields Due to Brexit Staffing Issues." So, the world's largest daffodil farm, which is based in Cornwall, is being forced to let hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of flowers rot after encountering troubles hiring staff since Brexit. Vellant Farms at Longrock, Penzance, produces over 500 million stems a year and needs about 700 workers in order to pick them. However, since COVID and the end of the free movement following Brexit, the business has only around 400 flower pickers. The business owner, Alex Newry, told Radio 4's The World this weekend that flowers are rotting as a result. He said, "We can't harvest them. We don't have enough pickers to pick them. We're losing hundreds of thousands of pounds." And trust me, we are going to see that exact statement echoed later on in the year by other farmers. So, the hopes that the Cornish workers could step in in the shoes of those who are now unable to travel from the European Union have been completely dashed. Because we saw this last year, if you remember. Farmers did a massive appeal, say, "Oh, if you've been furloughed, come and help us out in the fields. We'll you can come pick, produce with us." No one went and did it, at least not enough, because very often these farmers are in rural areas, and very often the type of people that they would normally need and essentially attract, they normally end up living on the farm during that time. And of course, you've got a transport issue, and farms are not the easiest place in the world sometimes to get to. So, and again, that's a rural village issue that, and again, Farmers were warned about this, as were many other people warned about the potential problems that this would bring. Have the Brexiteers tried anything to help alleviate this issue? Didn't do a single thing. So when we see farmers crying about this later on this year, the Brexiteers are still not going to do anything. There might be the odd Brexiteer who comes out and says, oh, farmers are being screwed by Boris's Brexit deal. We need to go back and, renegotiate it, blah, 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 blah. Like what we're seeing now. But trust me, Boris and co are not in any way, shape or form going to go anywhere near negotiations again. So, anyway, he continued. We have had significant recruitment drives for local workers to come and harvest the crops, added Newry. And it's idealistic to think that because of COVID and the higher than usual unemployment rates, that those people would come in and do the work. I would have said that a daffodil harvester is to be highly respected because the work is very hard. You're out in the cold weather. It's in Cornwall. It blows pretty hard down here. It's wet. You're bending over picking daffodils for over 3 months. And frankly, the people that we've had come to do this work, the locals, they may last a day or two, but they certainly don't last the 2 or 3 months they're required. The scheme to attract seasonal workers from other parts of the world does not currently include flower picking as part of its remit. Newry said the seasonal worker pilot scheme, which allows workers from outside of the EU, and that's the important bit, outside the EU, under a visa scheme to come in and harvest food or crops. There are significant pools of available workers from places like the Ukraine, Moldova, and further afield in South America. But for the time being, that's for the only edible crops. But this does not include ornamental crops, and by definition, flowers are excluded from that. Newry has raised his concerns with the government, and the industry annually contributes over 150 million to the UK economy, and a member of the company has confirmed. He said that the farm supplies daffodils to all UK supermarkets, as well as exporting them to Europe, the USA and Dubai. So that's yet another business having problems because of Brexit. And it's so bizarre that we're now having to go so far further afield. And I wonder because here's the thing, what people don't realise. You take somewhere like Boston, tiny village. However, because of freedom of movement, what started to happen was that these seasonal workers were coming to do these jobs, and then they realised, well, hold on a second, why don't I just live here? And then they brought their families with them. And then very often the mother went out and did work as well. The child went to the school. This has increased the population of Boston massively. It used to be what was locally a parish council. They've now had to actually upgrade themselves because of the boom. They've had more money coming in because of these immigrants. And guess what? All the local people complain exclusively about the immigrants. So what's going to happen? Well, exactly the same thing is probably going to happen. These towns are probably going to attract people from South America and all these other places outside the EU. And again, remember, only about 34% of our immigration was actually from the EU. The rest was from outside the EU. So, again, we've talked about that, why it was ridiculous to talk about, EU immigration being such a problem when it wasn't. The vast majority of our, immigration was from outside the EU. But, there you go. So, yeah, we're probably going to see the exact same thing repeated. And, again, people are never, ever going to be happy with immigration. But we need it. Boston is a town and a place that massively benefited from this. They got new schools, new facilities, infrastructure from all this increase in their population. But, you try telling that to some people and they just don't understand. They just don't see beyond the fact of, it's somebody coming across here, stealing our jobs. And, that's it. And that's the the thing that they don't seem to really understand. Immigration is something that we need, but you try explaining that to people and they don't really seem to get it through. It's that facts over feelings argument. Their feelings is that they do not like immigrants, unfortunately. It's not the case for everyone, but unfortunately there is as people very well know in this country, there is a very loud, vocal minority, shall we say, who do believe that. So, as always, thank you for watching. Please do remember to hit that like and share button on your way out. And of course, down below, there is a link to my Patreon page. And of course, if you'd like to buy me a coffee, there is a one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can do just that. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.